Over in the pages of Marvel Comics' recent Timeless one-shot, we saw longtime Avengers villain Kang the Conqueror chase after the missing moment in which Kang the Conqueror ceases to be and becomes Immortus, a future version of himself. And in the meantime, we've gotten to see Jason Aaron's Avengers wind down over on the property, and in the Marvel Universe, it's time now for the Avengers to begin facing tribulation events leading towards this missing moment for Kang the Conqueror. My name is Arako Braddock, and today let's go ahead and dive into the pages of a brand new Avengers #1 coming from the excellent creative team of author Jed MacKay over with artist CF Via returning over from Black Cats. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button if you enjoy our content. And I want to go ahead and kick our review of this new tale of the Avengers off by reading Marvel Comics' solicitation text for the issue. Assemble, Jed MacKay and Stormbreaker CF Via take the reins of Earth's mightiest heroes, the star, the icon, the witch, the construct, the god, the engineer, the king. The world is ever in peril, and a new team of Avengers mobilizes to meet any dangers that dare threaten the planet. But when Terminus attacks, a new and insidious danger rears its head. One that the Avengers know all too well, and one that comes to haunt them in the most dangerous of guises, that of a friend. I want to go ahead and read off our creative team behind this brand new era of the Avengers. Of course, this one is written by Jed MacKay, and of course it features art over from CF Via, featuring colors from Federico Blee, letters from VC's Cory, Petit, and just wonderful cover over from Stuart Immonen that I want to go ahead and show off right now from Marvel Comics. Here's a look over at the really beautiful cover over for Avengers #1. Been such a big fan of Stuart Immonen's for such a long time. Really happy to see that he's still working at Marvel. Let's go ahead and dive into some of the interiors for the issue. Want to extend a big thank you over to Adventures in Poor Taste and talk a little bit about CF Via's art in the issue. I think CF Via is so great at depicting some of the individual facial expressions for the character. In fact, one of the characters on this Avengers lineup that I'm not super interested in is Captain Marvel. I think CF Via does such a great job making her kind of relatable with some of her facial expressions, and even got me to like the character along with some of the writing over from Jed MacKay by the time the issue was done. Of course, it definitely helps that Jed MacKay continues the trend over from Black Cat in telling some really fantastic captions that depict so much kind of nuance and characterization over for kind of Carol as a character as well. And also, as you can see from this page, when the art calls for kind of big and bombastic action, I think CF Via also delivers in this context as well. I want to give a shout out to Federico Blee for, kind of changing the palette of the colors exactly when the scene calls for it, unlike what we get over in this tale too. And this is going to be a great segue over to some of the writing from Jed MacKay. But I love how this book is essentially told in a non-linear format. And I think that the art, especially the kind of color palette from Federico Blee, switches depending on which part of the script we're on. Also, I just love the big and kind of boisterous way that CF Via is able to capture Thor over in the issue. Just wanted to go ahead and point that out. Especially, I love how on the previous page, Thor is looking so kind of formal and stoic, reeling from some of the status quos that happened in the last issue. And then in the next page, we see him kind of with mouth open, looking to kind of fight with Terminus with everything that Thor has. So really like that moment in the issue, and also really appreciate how versatile CF Via's art can be across this issue. Want to go ahead and switch gears just a little bit and talk about some of the writing over from Jed MacKay. As we said right up front, I really thought this issue did such a great job introducing Carol, Captain Marvel. And I think her captions, the way they're written, are just so kind of sweet and nice, honestly. It feels like this book has such a kind of pleasant foundation that I think a lot of Avengers titles have tried to capture. Jason Aaron is particularly great at writing an Avengers team that's really kind of amicable. The one thing I love about this that I think almost makes it better in terms of the tone than some of the movies is just how sweet some of these characters are written. I think in some of the Marvel movies, especially lately, characters go for the joke too much. And in this book, characters are being, extremely straightforward. They're being cordial. And especially kind of when Carol goes and she interacts with each of the Avengers, she kind of continually references like some point where they've done something kind of great for the Avengers in the past. A lot of these characters have had such a kind of long and storied history across the Marvel universe that coming in with this perspective reads to me like a complete breath of fresh air in the issue. As we mentioned up front here, this issue has really, really interesting tone here and kind of is also told in this fascinating non-linear format where essentially we get a look at the Avengers battle over with the character of Terminus. But after this battle, we kind of continue to get flashes of kind of characters that are joining this Avengers team. I always love it when these kind of stories, especially in debut issues, are told with a non-linear narrative. Non-linear narratives really help these books, I think, not feel so monotonous and repetitive due to the fact that Marvel, publishes so many Avengers #1 issues as well, which is just something I think is a little bit interesting to consider over in the issue. And Jed MacKay is able to kind of use the structure of the issue to kind of make a meta commentary on characters' relationship to the Avengers, as well as kind of recounting all of their individual histories. Now, I have to say, I loved how kind of deep Jed MacKay dove into some of the books for the individual characters. The one character in this issue who actually paid off some plot threads directly from their main book was none other than T'Challa, the Black Panther. He's been sort of like on the kind of decline in terms of some of the events over in his main book. So seeing Carol kind of celebrate the fact that he's such an important Avenger and kind of character to the Marvel Universe, giving T'Challa that win when he desperately needed it, actually managed to elicit a strong emotional response from me. So I was so happy that Jed MacKay was honestly able to pay off a plot thread from another comic book and give me that like triumphant, sense of awesomeness. Also, in the next page, we see a really fantastic action sequence between T'Challa and some of the kind of individual characters over in the issue too. Also, there's some really fantastic characterization with the kind of dual Captain Americas of the Marvel Universe as well. There were a couple points in the issue where I think CFV's art began to falter a little bit. One of those instances is with the Vision, in particular with kind of his headpiece over on the page, and it feels like some of the lines are kind of like curved in a way that they shouldn't essentially on the page. Also, there's some moments with Terminus too that look a little bit odd over in the issue, but I really think it's made all the better by some of these action sequences over in the issue too. And I can't stress enough how creative I think Jed MacKay is in essentially introducing the rest of the Marvel characters into the issue. Jed MacKay doesn't take too long, but really kind of uses the character reveals as a strong moment for the Avengers issue. And finally, when we kind of get that context on the last couple pages that kind of lines this Avengers title up with the timeless one-shot from Jed MacKay and kind of introduces a shadowy character who has some actually continuity established with this Avengers title already, is absolutely fascinating. I feel like this issue is paced really, really nicely and is able to go through so much content so cohesively here. So I've been waiting a long time over for this Avengers book from Marvel. There's been so much kind of interesting lead up to it with the status quo for Kang. And I've always wondered, going back to the days where I read the original Avengers Forever, when we would get that kind of missing moment that would propel Kang to become Immortus. So really happy that this book already has so much fascinating plot built up for it. And I think this issue did a fantastic job kind of reestablishing the status quo. Very excited to see our Avengers face off against tribulation events in future issues, and very excited to see kind of how Kang finds that missing moment. Well, I want to know from you, what were some of your thoughts over on this debut for Avengers #1? Did you enjoy this issue as much as I did? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming to check out our review over on this new Avengers tale. We'll be back really soon covering all of the new developments over for King the Conqueror in the Marvel Universe and to see what's next for the Avengers. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.